Hello again, and we are back on the little Mark 1 Twingo, which is known as Pepe, which is Mike's car. We've done the front suspension and we're now working on the rear suspension. So to get to the rear suspension, you've got bolts at the bottom and you've got bolts at the top, and to get into the top you've got this top cover with two torque screws just here, and you lift that, and underneath it will be a piece of foam which covers the top of the strut like that. You can take that off, and then there's 3 bolts here at the top which you need to undo. One is for the actual strut itself, so if I, as you can see, it's actually moving now, and one is for the top cap, and that's for the main strut itself. I take all 3 out because actually I actually want to see what the top of the strut is like for rust and stuff like that. If there's anything there, I'll show you. Again, that's what it looks like with all the bolts on, just like that. So you take them off. I think the middle one is 16mm and the other ones are 13s. Then underneath you have 1 bolt there, which is normally quite difficult, and I'm going to use the impact wrench on that. You do need to jack the car up on the rear to actually sort of take the weight and let the wheel drop. So yeah, let's get on with it and take the suspension out. So the first suspension, rear suspension strut is out. This one here, the rubbers at the end are starting to degrade and peel away, so they don't look too bad, but yeah, it was still doing a decent job of a spring and a damper, but the end rubber is going, and they're so cheap it's just easier just to replace. Got the bump stops here on the rear as well, which I've taken apart. So yeah, so let's get this back together again with a new damper and spring and put it back in the car. So all the top bolts are in. To tighten this one up you need a 6mm spanner on that, and then a 16 on that, and you need to hold the actual the damper here and just turn that, and that's absolutely it tightens up nicely. These are 14s, so I've just tightened those up, put the cap back on, and then I'll put this back together again and screw it all back together. So let's get on with the next one. It is a lot higher. Actually, it's actually about the same. It's about the same as that side, and yes, you can even see, if I zoom out, the car is a little bit higher on this side than that side, so even these springs were pretty knackered. So okay, let's get that side done. This is going to be harder because I've got to somehow jack up the car, but yeah, we'll do it. So one thing I like about having a decent jack is that this one actually goes very low. You can actually pump really low and get in there, so I don't have to move the car. And that's on the sill, I've checked from the other side, and yeah, so I can now get to that. But yes, investing in a good jack is definitely something you need if you're working on cars. Second strut out. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to put one of the new ones together and put it back on the car. Really simple stuff. So all the suspension is done, as much as I can do with the car. Mike has got 2 new wishbones, which are there, and they're going to go on. I think we're going to send this car to the garage we use. I can't seem to get the bolts out for the wishbones, so I'm going to leave it to him to do that, because also the catalytic converter is also going to be done there as well. So just those and the catalytic converter at the garage. But yes, the suspension all done. It's very firm. It's very firm. Yeah, it's quite firm. Yeah, so it's all there. Let's see if I can it's very difficult to see, but yeah, suspension's all there and in. Yes, right. Got confirmation that the thermostat's arriving today at 1 o'clock via email, so I will fit that and then we'll bleed the cooling system and then take it for a test drive. So I was fed up with getting underseal all over my hands every time I touch this car. So I have cleaned up all of the surfaces around here and along here and up there, and yeah, I've just given it all a very good clean. Yeah, it's just scabby, that underseal. It was horrible. It dried out and it was just horrible. So yeah, oh, there we go. There's Jack. Hello, Jack. So yeah, it's a little cleaner. I'm just waiting for that thermostat to come, and then I'll put that back in, and then I'll bleed the system, fill it up, bleed it, and then see whether this actually leaks. If it does, I've got a repair kit coming which will chop out that part there and then fix. Yeah, it does need another bit of a clean after this, but yeah, it's not so nasty looking. It looks a bit more loved cosmetically. The previous owner did a really good job of looking after this car generally, but just that, yeah, it isn't a farm tractor. It isn't a Land Rover. it's a little French car, and yeah, it's looking a lot happier here. You can see the blue. You can actually see the blue. So anyway, right. I'll wait for the thermostat to turn up, and then I'll finish off this video. Okay, so I've filled the system, and I've been bleeding it as best I can using this bleed screw here. This one here, yeah, it rusted out, and what's left is that hole with whatever's left of that screw in there. It's holding water, surprisingly. There's a good pressure in there, and there's no pressure in it right now because I've got the cap off. So it's lovely and hot. The thermostat is in there now. It's open and it's letting coolant in. If I just put the cap back on, it's a brand new cap. Had a fountain here. It's spat out a few times. Radiator is lovely and hot. Yeah. That'll build up pressure. But yeah, it's just a case of idling it. I'm going to cut out that bleed part there and actually put a connecting, like a straight through connector, and sort that out. I don't feel comfortable with leaving it like that, so yeah, it's ticking along like a little sewing machine. Yeah. I'm just watching the coolant. It's just above maximum, sort of in the halfway, so I can see where it is. See it build pressure. These engines are known for sort of having not cooling problems, but if you don't look after them, they do, because the water pump is actually higher than the engine. So if you run out of coolant, so if basically all that in that reservoir goes into that radiator here, off the side of the radiator here, okay, and it loses coolant, it stops pumping. If it stops pumping, it overheats, and it overheats really, really quickly. This is Renault 5s, Renault 11s of the 80s and 90s. They have this arrangement. Most water pumps now are actually down at the bottom of the engine or close to the bottom. So the engine has to lose a lot of coolant before it stops pumping. But up here, it's all here, so it's easy to get to. If you want to change the water pump, it's dead easy. But yeah, as the coolant goes down and goes below the impellers, it will stop pumping. Yeah, pressure's building up. I'm sort of just standing back because of that. I think that might actually pop. I'm not sure. But yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. some of the... Oh yeah, that's toasty, that radiator's nice and toasty, so doing its job. Okay, I'm going to let this run for a little while and keep on bleeding it. I think it's there, I think it is there, so